Tonight, Supreme Court under fire from minority MPs as they question court's decision to quash 5-year-old arrest warrant for social media commentator Kevin Taylor, convicted in absentia for contempt of court.
But as to why the decision of the court, which was still pending, was not activated, why the court did not ensure that the laws worked by arresting Kevin Taylor and placing him in the cells before allowing the matter to be heard.
We'll bring you details of this particular matter. Well, minority MPs are sounding alarms tonight over what they allege are sweeping breaches of legal protocol in the case of outspoken social media commentator Kevin Taylor. The Supreme Court delivered a striking verdict today, overturning a 2020 bench warrant for Taylor's arrest, with the High Court emphasizing a glaring lack of due process. In a 4-1 majority decision, a 5-member panel led by Justice Omoro Isifo Tanko ruled that the warrant issued by Justice Eric Che Bafo trampled on Taylor's fundamental right to be heard. The court upheld an urgent certiorari application by Taylor's legal team, affirming that the warrant was improperly issued without affording Kevin Taylor his day in court. Lawyer for Kevin Taylor, Peter Kojo, told Elton Broby on Pulse on Joy News Channel his client is overly uplifted.
So what about a human being or a judge who is just an ordinary human mortal? If he takes positions and delivers judgments or rulings or warrants like he's God omnipresent, then it's very worrying. So what we are saying is that you could summon the person, but you first have to summon the person, and then you ask him to put up his defense. And if his defense is not proper, then you convict him. But in this case, they convicted him long before the facts arrived. So in other words, the judge put the cart before the horse, which is a contradiction in terms. But anyway, if the horse is pulling backwards, then the cart can be put in front of, the cart can be put before it. But this cart is moving forward, not backwards.
All right.
This horse is pulling forward.
So basically, he was not given a hearing, which defeats the circuit rule of, letting people tell their side of the story before you can conclude on them.
Yes, exactly.
So what now happens to some of the cases against your client? For example, in 2020, private legal practitioner Ace Anand Ankoman won his defamation suit against Mr. Taylor, and the court awarding him 2.9 million Ghana cedis in damages. Cases of this nature against your client, what now happens to those cases?
My engagement was specifically in respect of the arrest warrant. Cases like Isankuman's cases are beyond the scope of my engagement. And as lawyers, Isankuman knows what to do.
But how does he feel now, knowing very well that the arrest warrant is off his head?
It's psychologically uplifting, and he's happy to be free.
But the decision has been criticized sharply by some minority MPs. Isaac Boama Nyako is MPP MP for Efia, and he says the non-arrest of Kevin Taylor prior to the Supreme Court hearing clearly shows an abuse of power by the NDC government.
So that clearly shows you the abuse of power, the abuse of our judicial processes, the lack of respect for the laws of this country. How on earth would an individual with such a warrant of the court pending on him be able to come to the jurisdiction, not get arrested, is able to file an application before the Supreme Court, enter the premises of the Supreme Court, not get arrested, and the matter be even heard by the Supreme Court? This is someone who made such scandalous accusations against the judiciary itself, against a judge who was sitting additionally as a High Court judge in the matter, and brought the reputation of the judiciary into disrepute. And properly so, the court had issued a bench warrant for his arrest. And the person had the ability to enter into this jurisdiction, was not arrested. He had the opportunity to file an application on the 2nd of July, and the court on this day have quashed the bench warrant that was issued on him. I find this as interesting times. That does not befit the democratic dispensation that we find ourselves. And so for now, it appears as if the country does not respect its own laws. People can sit anywhere and make some accusations against government institutions, and then when there's a change of government like this, it means the law applies in one government, and then with a change of government, the law changes its color. That is very, very unfortunate. And I think the government led by His Excellency John Dramani Mahama ought to ensure that this thing never had happened in this country.
Finally, what do you make of the 4-1 judgment of the court? The court said natural justice, and that before the judge would order his arrest by virtue of a bench warrant, he should have invited him, and if he declined the invitation, perhaps you can issue a bench warrant for his arrest. But arresting him first when you hadn't heard from him was a breach of natural justice.
So procedurally, if a court issues a warrant against an individual and the powers of the state have the means to arrest the person, the first thing is for the person to be arrested, brought before court, and the person can make a case against the arrest and file his processes for the court to either quash it at its level, review its position, or then you take the matter to the next level. So I'm not so much concerned as to the merits of the decision of the court, but as to why the decision of the court, the previous decision, which was still pending, was not activated. Why the court did not ensure that the laws worked by arresting Kelvin Taylor and putting him before, placing him in the cells before allowing the matter to be heard.
So that's the MP for Efia there. Let's go on the phone lines now and bring in our parliamentary and legal affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, who has been providing a background of how this case particularly started. Kweku, walk us through how this case started and the latest.
Great. So it was in 2020, and Justice Eric Cheba, for a High Court judge, in fact, at the time, a Court of Appeal judge with additional responsibilities as a High Court judge, was presiding over the criminal trial of erstwhile NDC government officials who used to be at the National Communication Authority. They were being prosecuted. Kelvin Taylor went on his social media, the shows that he does, and then is said to have made some disparaging remarks against the judge, Justice Eric Cheba, to the extent that he was doing the bidding of the New Patriotic Party in the court, and that is why he had been promoted as a High Court judge. When this matter came to the attention of the judge, he did go to the extent, in fact, he did point out that was contemptuous of the court, and the comment that had been made by Kelvin Taylor had a propensity of lowering the image of the court in the eyes of right-thinking members of the Ghanaian society, for which reason he issued a bench warrant for the arrest of Kelvin Taylor so that he can be produced before court, so that Kelvin Taylor can show cause why he should not be committed to prison for the third contempt of court. And at the time, Kelvin Taylor, as you know, was not in the country, and so the bench warrant was issued for his arrest, but he was never arrested. In fact, for the last 4 years, as we know, Kelvin Taylor had not been in the country in a way or in any meaningful way that would allow the Ghana Police Service or any other security service for that matter to arrest him in fulfillment of that bench warrant. But Kelvin Taylor, we know, this man did file an application at the Supreme Court asking the Supreme Court to pass the bench warrant issued for his arrest by Justice Eric Cheba on a number of grounds, mainly the natural justice rule, that he was not given a hearing before the judge ordered for his arrest. Today, by 4-1 decision, the Supreme Court did agree with him that he should have been given hearing before the court would have issued a bench warrant against him. So the 5-member panel, presided over by Justice Omoro Tanko, Justice Jamefe, Justice Subare, Justice Philip Bright Mensah, and Ernest Yaugai, who sat on this matter, all of them agreed with Kelvin Taylor in the presence of Justice Omoro Tanko, who presided, Justice Jamefe, one of the new Supreme Court judges that was just appointed, Justice Subare, one of the new judges, Philip Bright Mensah, also one of the new judges, and then Justice Ernest Gaiu, who dissented. So 4-1, the first 4 judges I mentioned, Tanko, Jamefe, Subare, and Philip Bright Mensah, agreed with with Kelvin Taylor, and Ernest Gaiu, who dissented in this matter, passing that order of Justice Eric Cheba for a bench warrant to be issued against Kelvin Taylor.
I mean, we know that you've been speaking to some minority MPs. Well, of course, we listen to the MP for Efia, who is not happy about this particular decision by the court. But what have the others been telling you?
It's been a lot surprising, some of the views that I've heard. A couple of minority MPs that I went to speak to them on this matter, a lot of them declined to go on the record. In fact, I suggested to them that there are those who have suggested strongly that Kevin Taylor ought to have been arrested by the police since he arrived in the country, because at the time the bench warrant had not been set aside by the Supreme Court. And some of them actually did tell me that perhaps the police didn't see him and that it's a lot of issues. And so very few of them were willing to go on the record, particularly the minority MPs, to make the point that we've just heard the Member of Parliament for Efia made. But a couple of NDC MPs who I also spoke to, a lot of them also declining to go on the record, did say that this was a matter that was clearly within the ambit of the Supreme Court. They believe that the Supreme Court has disposed of the matter and that should end the dispute.
Kojo, I'm grateful to you for joining us here. Now, let's stay on the legal matters and bringing a private legal practitioner, Lawyer Martin Pebu here. Lawyer, I'm grateful to you for joining us. Now, the issue, as I heard from my colleague and from court, is that Kevin Taylor should have been given fair hearing, but this is a guy who was outside the country. I mean, is it not possible for someone to be tried in absentia?
Yeah, okay, Kojo. Yes, as a legal principle, or let's say in terms of procedure, yes, but there are certain conditions precedent. Yes, it's usually when. So this one is even a contempt. No, not contempt. So let's say the judge issued the summons, right, for him to come. No, they said bench warrant. Sorry. So that's the main thing that the Supreme Court is even against. So it's not as if there was a case directly against him. That's why, from the little that the reports are showing, they're saying that the judge did not summon him before issuing the warrant. Summoning him before issuing the warrant means that make a case against him. You remember the one against Pesa White when he was alleged to have said certain things, all right? So the Supreme Court issued summons against him. You remember the Muntie Tre? Yes, they issued summons against them to come and answer. For you see, and let's all be a bit circumspect. You know, we haven't seen the detailed ruling. But at least so far from your reporters from the Supreme Court, Kwekwa Asante, etc., they are saying that the Supreme Court said he had not issued the summons. So when you mention the summons, then quickly my mind goes to the case against Pesa White. They issued the summons against him. The case against the Muntie Tre, they issued the summons that come. For so that they would, just to paraphrase, the summons will say that on so and so date, you said so and so, which are contemptuous of this honorable court, and so you should come and answer why you should not be, committed for contempt of court. I'm just paraphrasing. So before the person comes, he knows what he's coming to answer. But from the report you are giving, this one is a straight bench warrant, and that's what the Supreme Court is saying. No, there should have been a summons based on the Muntie Tre, based on the elections, John and Co. All those, you remember election 2012 petition, etc. All of them.
I mean, so the point is that the man was in the state. The case was happening in Ghana. So the Supreme Court is saying that if this judge had issued that call on Kevin Taylor to come, Kevin Taylor would have. I mean, we also understand that there was that invite to him that he didn't honor.
Kojo, these ones, we're on a slippery slope so far. From what your reporters, I haven't heard that side. So we should all hold our horses. Let's not begin to say things that will turn out not to be borne out by the judgment. I'm not aware of this side. And then also quickly, let me add that the earlier comment by one of the interviewees talking about lack of due process, etc., we're here. I'm not equalizing it, but I'm just reminding you that it means the Supreme Court is broadening the scope of freedom of speech, right? I see a broadening of the scope of freedom of speech. Canada, Japan. held, I mean, a lot of insults at Justice Wuntawuni, etc. The case went to court, and in Japan, the Supreme Court prohibited Justice Wuni from going to it. Long story short, eventually we heard that Kennedy Japan had been called quietly. Some proceedings went on, and Kennedy Japan had been let go. At that time, the current minority didn't find anything wrong. I'm not equalizing, but such things, what I'm doing, the argument is that if at that time we thought that that is broadening the scope of free speech, etc., why would today a similar thing appear to rather be a retrogression of the democracy?
But his argument is that once the bench warrant had been issued against him, he should first of all have been picked up before the Supreme Court overturns it. Once that has not been done, he says that is not due process. You disagree?
I disagree. I vehemently disagree. If you don't find the person, you see, the name of the game is evidence. The name of the game is evidence. Has he adduced evidence that he, what's his name? The interview, what's his name?
He's the MP for Efia. I think he goes by the name Isaac Buamanyako. Yeah.
Isaac Buamanyako. Has he said that, look, he found Kevin Taylor in so-and-so hotel, reported to the police, and the police failed to arrest? I think the way we are rushing to politicize everything is not healthy.
But lawyer, lawyer, isn't it?
Japan did what he did.
But lawyer, I mean, the guy came into the country first of all. He came through the airport, lodged somewhere before he went to court. He didn't fly into the court. So don't they have a point when they say, so far as he landed in the country, he should have first of all been picked up?
No, you see. So they don't have a point when they have not shown you the evidence. So when a person lands at the airport, they have to first show that there was an arrest warrant and that his name had been put on the stop list or arresting. So popularly, you hear a stop list. So that's for those going outside. When they are coming, I don't know his name, but I won't be surprised it's still around the same stop list. Yes, I should think if you are coming. So basically, they will arrest you. So if there's a court order, you've not gone to put it on the stop list, etc., it can't work. How would the immigration people just arrest anybody? About 2 weeks ago, I had a client coming in. Before we got in, he told us we suspected he'd be arrested. Lo and behold, he was arrested at the airport. We rushed there, blah, blah, blah. So there's a list. It's called stop list. That's why I'm saying that it appears we want to rush to make comments ahead of ourselves.
But whose responsibility is it to put the name on the stop list when the bench warrant was issued some 4 years ago?
Yeah, so it's the court officer. So if you ask me, on the face of it, it will be the registrar of the court. Of course, to be assisted by there's a person who applied for it. But if the judge issued it all by himself, then it's the registrar of the court.
So then you okay, but you are saying that because probably his name was not on the stop list, that is why probably he wasn't picked up. But when he got to the court complex, are we also saying that he could not have been picked up when he got to the court before the Supreme Court to do what they did?
Oh no, but it will be turning the law on its head.
Okay,
the man has come in, so at that time, he has an order, so he has an application saying that his arrest is illegal and seeking to stop it. Now, it will be shocking that that's the very moment that he will be picked up. Once he made it into the courtroom, no, that is too late. The horse has bolted. So until the proceedings are done, because it will then be an affront on even the Supreme Court that the man has entered the court to argue his case. And then that's the time the police come and pick him to take him away. Oh, Ghana is not coming to an end. I think some of the time we should be long-termish in our thinking. Sometimes we make arguments that tomorrow will come back to haunt us. When Kennedy Japan, let's keep repeating. Isaac Buama Nyako, where was he? When Japan was here vituperating judges, what did Isaac Buama Nyako say? That suddenly today
was a warrant issued against Kennedy Japan?
No, but what is worse than the comments that Kennedy Japan made? against the judge. What is worse than that? This one is a warrant. But the other one, Kennedy Japan made vituperations, sorted the judge. It was terrible. They were here, majority at the time. They gave him Saka. Did they give him up? Then eventually the Supreme Court prohibited Justice Wuni from hearing it. I'm sure they were very happy that the boundaries of free speech had been expanded. Then just 2-3 years down the line, then they are trying in the opposite direction. I don't think this is something we should countenance.
I mean,
when he gets the ruling, he can read. But in the meantime, even the statements he's making, the key thing is that he has not adduced evidence that he found or any other person saw Kevin Taylor, and yet they went and called police. Police saw him and didn't arrest him. If you don't have
in the case of the Gifty Owaris on the former boss of the NSS or the NSA, I mean, the security officials were already waiting for her at the airport, even though we understand her name was not on the stop list. How different is that from this one?
The difference is that the person who had an interest in making sure that Owari is arrested was proactive. So let's go back to this one. In this case, when the order was issued, who was to make sure that the immigration people get it? As I said, for me, my mind goes to the registry. When you go to the court, there's an administrator, chief administrator. So if once it's a bench warrant, then the administrator of the court has a key role to play. And also, if it was a party who drew the judge's attention, if somebody drew the judge's attention to the statement, then that person too had a duty to make sure that having been proactive in drawing the judge's attention, that person should have been proactive in following up with the registrar. Have you sent the order? Do immigration have it, etc.? You say it. Yes.
I'm grateful to you, Lawyer Martin Pebble, for helping us to really understand what the issues are when it comes to due process. But even before the Supreme Court's ruling earlier today, ranking member on the Security and on the Interior and Defense Committee of Parliament, Reverend Tim Kojo, raised concerns over the state's perceived protection of Kevin Taylor, alleging he was being housed at the Vice President's official residence. Here's what he said on our sister station at Doom FM.
Kevin Taylor. Court to cry.
I am referring to the young man who was hired by the NDC to insult many prominent figures in this country, Kevin Taylor, who, according to the court, is in contempt and has a bench warrant issued for his arrest. He is currently in town under the protection of national security, which has reportedly placed him at the official residence of the Vice President. This is the same residence that housed President Mahama when he served as both Vice President and President.
Is this information that you are privy to?
And I will give you the full information. We'll come to that.
Really?
Yes. But I want, if you want us to deal with it, let's zoom in and deal with it.
But it's a serious matter. And coming from you as a ranking on...
Oh, yes. You see, and it is terrible in this country, sir.
So that's the ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament, Reverend Tim Kojo, there, speaking to our colleagues at Doom FM. Well, we have the lawyer for Kevin Taylor, Peter Kojo, on the line. Peter, I'm grateful to you, sir, for joining. I think, unfortunately, do we still have lawyer Kojo on the line? We've lost him there. But we'll try and understand what the issues are. And again, try to raise Reverend Tim Kojo on the line to get more understanding. Okay, we have Peter on the line. Peter, do I have you?
Yeah, you do.
Great,
yeah.
Thank you very much. So, I mean, where's your client now? I'm told that, as you told us, he's overly happy. Where is he?
Mm.
Where is he now as you speak?
I don't know.
Okay. All right. Now, yesterday we understand that he had been in the country for some time. Was he with you?
No. Our clients are not with us. Normally they instruct us and then we meet in court.
So where was he
so
lodging?
The fact that somebody has engaged you as a lawyer doesn't mean he moves in to live with you or he hangs around you. You take instructions, you meet in court. Thereafter, everybody finds his way. So wherever he came from.
Okay. So do you know where he was lodging yesterday?
That is not part of my instruction.
he's your client. I mean, the minority is alleging that he was being housed at the vice president's house. Is
I'm
that
not
the
supposed to
instruction you
know
have?
the residence of my client. That is not part of my legal instruction. You know that that's all my client. Where they are lodged.
When your client posts the vice president on social media and writes "Mama" with love, are people right to then draw the connection between where he was housed and the vice president?
When somebody writes, pardon me,
post the picture of the vice president, write "Mama" on it with a love emoji. Are people right then to draw the connection between where he was housed?
I'm not an expert on emojis, so I cannot comment on that one.
Okay, so you can't tell us where he was housed since he came into the country.
No, that is not part of my instruction.
All right, I hear. But again, minority is alleging that there was a breach of process. How do you respond to their concerns?
I don't know. I mean, the minority. Our constitution is based on the concept of separation of powers. The legislature is supposed to legislate. The court is supposed to give judgments and do judicial functions. Article 125 Clause 3 is very express that not even Parliament or the President or any agency of both can interfere with the work of the court system, and so the court must, to the majority, ask them to continue to legislate and leave the judiciary to do their job.
So, was it also your briefing that prior to the issuance of that bench warrant, your client was not given that opportunity to come into the country to explain why he should not be held accountable for those comments he made?
If he had issued the order for my client to come to the court at that point in time to explain why my client was here to do so.
I'm grateful, but let me bring in Reverend Intim Kojo, who is ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. He's been saying that he knows where your client was housed. Reverend, grateful to you for joining us here. But what's the evidence to prove your case that indeed Kevin Taylor was being housed in the house of the Vice President?
Well, there's nothing to prove. We leave the judgment to the good people of this country. And my comments is not in any way directly responding to the judgment or ruling given by the Supreme Court. But the surprise, the indignation, the disappointment of the Ghanaian people and how the judiciary is being handled generally, particularly as the lawyer articulately, cites various constitutional provisions that go to say or suggest that there should be separation of powers. Yes, but institutions must also be allowed to work.
But Reverend, you are the ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee, so you sit at a very privileged position. There are things you know that we won't know. You've said this morning that Kevin Taylor was housed at the house of the Vice President. So you may know or have evidence to prove that. You cannot just say we should make meaning out of what you said.
You have a fugitive who has been running away from serving the bench warrant. And then at the time that he even appears or arrives in the country, under the full glare of national security, instead of the state, up until today, when the Supreme Court ruled to quash the bench warrant was still in force. Are you aware of that?
Exactly, yes.
So, was it not incumbent on the security agencies to hand him over the moment he arrived so that he goes to appear before the relevant court to answer the necessary questions pending pursuant to the bench warrant? Up until today, at the hearing of this case, where the Supreme Court quashed it, it was still in force. July 5th, he's been in this country. National security received him through Gate 19, VVIP, heavily guarded by security, took him to Prestige Link, housed him in the Vice President official residence. And when this matter came out, and some of us spoke about it, immediately we had some national security personnel were sacked. We had some military officials were reassigned because they thought that they had leaked some information.
So Reverend, you know all of this information. You are ranking on the Defense and Interior Committee of Parliament. What have you done in Parliament to demand answers on behalf of us Ghanaians?
Well, there's a lot that we do, and we expect the media also to take interest. And we leave the judgment to the
No, Reverend, I mean specifically on this matter. What have you done in Parliament to get the answers for us?
Taxpayers' money is being used to pamper fugitives. It's being used to pamper people who have the reputation and notoriety in bastardizing every important person in this country, including the judiciary. And when there was a bench warrant, he is supported by the state to evade the bench warrant and pampered through and through until he has a ruling from Supreme Court to set it aside. That is the stake, 6.3 million.
So what will you do? What will you do once you're saying that state's resources were used to house him until he got this judgment? There's a cost that you have to fight for Ghanaians. What will you do?
Well, yes, we started in motion, and you hear it.
I'm grateful to you. That's Reverend Tim Kojo. He's ranking on Parliament, Defence and Interior Committee. This is Top Story, or this has been Top Story, brought to you by Telecel Connect and Energies. Up next is Newsnight.
And the next 60 minutes here on Newsnight, Minority Leader Alexander Afeno-Markin kicked off Ghana's delegation to ECOWAS Parliament.
I shall move pursuant to our standing orders for the amendment of the composition of the delegation so that Honorable Alexander Kwamina Afeno-Markin Osahene is removed and Honorable Patricia Apiaje is replaced.
We have details as Interior Minister Mensah Mubarak says if the minority leader defies Parliament and presents himself to ECOWAS Parliament, he must be stripped of his other entitlements as a leader.
If the minority leader insists he wants to go to ECOWAS, he must be stripped of all the other privileges that the minority leader are supposed to do. We are talking about what do you call it, IPU, we are talking about CPA, we are talking about, because you see.
Still in Parliament, the governing NDC has seized full control of Parliament with a commanding 2/3 majority. We find out what an NDC majority will mean for Ghana's democracy.
But when those numbers are used to pursue the interests of the NDC, that is where the supermajority becomes problematic and poses a risk to our democracy.
We'll hear from the majority leader himself.
The National Democratic Congress will not abuse the majority given to it by Ghanaians. We will use it wisely, we will use it properly.
Also tonight has former President Akufo-Addo withdrawn his support for his Vice President and aspiring MPP flag bearer Dr. Bawumia. We'll hear from former Majority Leader and leading figure in the Bawumia camp who says Dr. Bawumia does not need the former President's support to win.
Well, they said, they have heard through some third parties that Akufo-Addo has said that he's not going to support him. Fair and fine. We'll take it like that. The man is his own man. Akufo-Addo is no longer the president anyway. Bawumia can walk through fire and win.
With or without his?
With or without.
In business, Bank of Ghana moves to streamline foreign exchange pricing at the country's ports with new set of guidelines as it hints of sanctions for non-compliance.
Later in sports, we'll bring you live commentary as the Black Queens face host nation Morocco for a spot in the final of the ongoing Women's African Cup of Nations.
And later in the news, we bring you the confessions of an illegal miner. His rather hilarious reaction after he was arrested by the police, which pretty sure you've seen has gone viral.
Oh yeah, where's that, Joe? I said police for the jam Syria. My neck go me took her.
Details of all that plus your comments, your news, 905511119997 after this.
money day. Big money day. Where too much money day. Telecel too much money promo drop. If you dial *500#, then join them. For the Telecel too much money promo inside, you will win 100 Ghana cedis cash for the daily draws, 20,000 Ghana cedis for the weekly draws, then 1.2 million Ghana cedis for the grand draw inside. That be 1.2 million Ghana cedis. You for just reload airtime, then get points with it make you win. Make you dial *500# or go the Telecel Play app top. Then book inside riders give the Telecel too much money promo. Terms and conditions apply.
Telecel. Connecting energies.
This promo will be NLA where they regulate them for the Caritas Lottery platform top.
Couldn't sleep at night. Mosquitoes will be whining my ears, bugging me all night long. Till I got a remedy. Now I'll be spraying them away with holy insecticide spray. Me I go spray them away with holy insecticide spray. When I sleep, me dana mada with holy insecticide spray.
Holy mosquito coil, holy multi-purpose insecticide spray. Dana kron kron. For bulk purchase, call 0302 681582. This advert is FDA approved.
You're live here on News 90s on Joy 99.7 FM. The minority leader, Alexander Fenomarking, has been kicked off Ghana's delegation to ECOWAS Parliament, despite the minority presenting him as part of the delegation. Now, Mr. Fenomarking is currently the third deputy speaker at the ECOWAS Parliament, but leaders of the caucus have traditionally never been part of Ghana's delegation to ECOWAS, the parliament itself, or the Pan-African Parliament. Instead, the deputy minority and majority leaders have led the delegations. Majority leader Mahama Yarega amended the list of MPs to be presented to the sub-regional court on the floor and removed Fenomarking's name, replacing him with his deputy.
The deputy leaders as members of the delegation, that has always been the tradition. The deputy leaders always go to the ECOWAS Parliament. Mr. Speaker, this side is sending Honorable George Kweku Ricketts-Hagan in his capacity as a deputy leader. Mr. Speaker, the minority side also has a deputy leader, and that deputy leader is Honorable Patricia Apiaje. Mr. Speaker, she is the deputy leader, and this House cannot deny her the opportunity to go to ECOWAS Parliament in her capacity as a deputy leader. When it comes to moving Resolution 19 of this House, the Resolution 19, I shall move pursuant to our standing orders for the amendment of the composition of the delegation so that Honorable Alexander Kwamina Afoyo-Michael Osahene is removed and Honorable Patricia Apiaje is replaced as the member of the delegation that will be representing this parliament at the ECOWAS Parliament.
Well, but former Minister of Defense fiercely objected to this.
I will urge leadership to hold on to this motion, go back behind the scenes, resolve whatever differences you have, and bring the motion back to us. Mr. Speaker, we are not going to ECOWAS or Pan-African Parliament as ND's majority or minority. We are going as Parliament of the Republic of Ghana. Our side, at least, should be given the right to choose who will go. If our attention has been drawn to an obvious fact and leaders sit behind the scene, they should be able to resolve this matter. But you say that you come to Parliament and say that Parliament should vote for the first time, you are going to set a precedent that tomorrow you will not be able to take. Because it is possible that tomorrow you can come and bring names, and because somebody has majority, he will move the motion and remove every one of them and change for you.
Let's bring in our Parliamentary Affairs correspondent, Kweku Asante, who joins us on the line right now. Kweku, explain what ECOWAS Parliament is and why this delegation is becoming controversial. What really is this about?
Well, Evans, at the beginning of the life of every parliament, the House sends a delegation to ECOWAS Parliament and also the Pan-African Parliament. These are sub-regional and regional bodies. When it comes to the Pan-African Parliament, it is made up of members of parliament from across the continent, and the ECOWAS Parliament is made up of representatives from ECOWAS. In ECOWAS and Pan-African Parliament, unlike those who are familiar with, say, the EU Parliament, where voters in the European Union directly elect their representatives to that parliament, this time around, in the continent and the subcontinent, ECOWAS, and then Africa as a whole, the parliaments of the respective countries appoint delegations to go. When it comes to the specific matter of ECOWAS Parliament, the tradition in Parliament here in Ghana has been that the deputy majority leader and the deputy minority leader leads the delegations. And so, in fact, in the last Parliament, you will recall that Alexander Afenyo-Markin was the deputy majority leader when the 8th Parliament started. It was on that basis that he was the leader of Ghana's delegation to the ECOWAS Parliament. At some point, when he became the majority leader, and Osei Mensah was removed from that role, he stayed on as a member of the ECOWAS Parliament, and in fact, he was elevated in his role and became the 3rd deputy speaker at the sub-regional body in Parliament in Abuja. And so this time around, when Parliament had to send a delegation again, per the list that was provided from the minority side, he was still on the list, despite the fact that he is the minority leader. And the tradition, as you heard Mahama Yaraga say, has always been that a deputy minority leader or the deputy majority leader are part of the delegation. So, in fact, they've been haggling over this for a couple of weeks now, and that is why that delegation has not been formalized. But this morning, when the Speaker of Parliament took his chair, he decided that he was going to ensure that they take that right away. And so the majority leader took to the floor and said, despite the fact that the minority had submitted Alexander Afenyo-Markin's name as part of the delegation from the minority, together with Brian Achampon and Patrick Boama, he was going to amend the report and take his name out. At the time, Alexander Afenyo-Markin was not on the floor, and that is why you heard Dominic Nitiwu put down strenuous opposition, but that did not survive because the Speaker of Parliament, in fact, also took the position of the majority leader that the leaders have to give way for their subordinates to also enjoy certain perks, quote unquote. And for that reason, they amended the report and took the name of Alexander Afenyo-Markin out. But Evans, here's the catch. In the past, something similar has happened under Opare Ansah, the member of parliament for Suwum at the time. And despite he being removed from the delegation, he defied leadership of parliament and went to Abuja to be sworn in as a member of parliament for ECOWAS. And Mensah Mubarak, who was a long-time leader in parliament, now interior minister, says if Alexander Afenyo-Markin does the same thing, he must be stripped of all his entitlements as minority leader.
But you see, we are capitalizing on our knowledge of the ECOWAS and Pan-African Parliament to make it difficult for this House. Because in the case of ECOWAS Parliament, if a member is elected, even if his parliament doesn't send him, and he still insists he wants to be a member, the ECOWAS Parliament will support him. And we have a clear example. When a former whip in this House, our colleague opposite, decided to defy leadership. And when he went there, interestingly, the minority leader today, who is taking an interim position, was the one who was disadvantaged. And I thought that if for nothing, he should learn from that. He should learn from that history. That being and taking an interim position will come and hand to you one day. This House, if it becomes necessary, we may have to vote and support you. If the minority leader insists he wants to go to ECOWAS, he must be stripped of all the other privileges that the minority leader are supposed to do. We are talking about IPU. We are talking about CPA. We are talking about, because you see, it is because of those privileges. It is because of those privileges that those leaders don't serve on this.
Fascinating indeed. And we'll learn pretty shortly why it's become so attractive, such that now we have even the minority leader haggling to get his name on the list to go to the ECOWAS Parliament. And so, Kweku, how did the Speaker rule on this?
Well, the Speaker was emphatic that the minority leader is not going to have his way on this matter. He is not going to be on the delegation to ECOWAS. And in fact, he was responding directly to the points made by the Interior Minister that maybe Alexander Afenyo-Markin may defy leadership and present himself to be sworn in at ECOWAS Parliament. He says if the minority leader does that, he will take certain actions. But as far as he's concerned, he's going by the amendments that were taken by the majority leader that took Alexander Afenyo-Markin's name from the delegation and replaced that with the deputy, Patricia PJ.
If he defies the decision of the House and goes there to see his trial to stand, and I can assure you that will be no problem for me. I've been leader for many years. I have never accepted to a member of ECOWAS Parliament or Pan-African Parliament. For the good reason that as a leader, you must create opportunities for your followers. And I did. And many of our members here have benefited from that. And so I will accept the amendment and urge you to vote according to that amendment, that the composition of Ghana's delegation to the Community Parliament of ECOWAS be made of the following: Honorable George Kweku Ricketts Hagan, leader; Honorable Emmanuel Kwesi Bejira, member; Honorable Ladi Ayi Ayamba, member; Honorable Eric Affle, member; Honorable Dominic Napari, member; Honorable Patricia Apieje, member; Honorable Kwame Anyimedu Entry, member; Honorable Brian Achampong, member; and Honorable Millicent Yeboah Amankwa, observer.
I want to bring in the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Draman, into this conversation. We're just listening there from Parliament. Dr. Draman, what do you make of this spectacle?
So I think there is tradition, but there is also maybe some realities that we have to take into account. All the instances cited to back tradition, I think we don't have any similarity to like what is playing out right now, because currently Honorable Afeni Makin is Parliament. He's part of the core leadership of that parliament. And we have been calling, because in fact, was parliament and the African parliament. And parliament has always been in Mensah where the region, the sub-region, and in the case of the Pan-African Parliament, the citizens will elect represental bodies. Of course, I mean, there are difficulties and so on. That has not happened up to this point. But what we are seeing, the elections that happen in the various countries create a lot of disruptions. Membership changes, people who are part of committees and some work is going on, all of a sudden you have a new delegation and so on. For the sake of continuity, particularly at the leadership level, I think this is for the minority leader. And I would have thought, in any case, that, didn't the majority leader want the minority leader out of his face, most of the time, send him to the ECOWAS Parliament, and then he's off your neck for some time, particularly when maybe you can time some critical motions and bills when he's in Abuja. This is just on the lighter side.
But more substantively, I get the sense, and if you listen to it, there are perks there. There are some benefits to get for being on the ECOWAS Parliament. And again, there's a history to this. We had Muntaka Mubarak talk about a previous instance where a leader, again on the MPP side, although he was told not to go, he showed up there, got sworn in, and he disadvantaged the man who was actually on the list, who coincidental in this case happens to Alexander Fenyo Marking. For members of parliament, members of the Ghanaian parliament to be seen now haggling over who gets on the list to go on an ECOWAS delegation is quite unbecoming of members of parliament. Yes, indeed. I think from that angle, if we have no repeat of the Opariansa incident, I think it would save us some kind of embarrassment at the sub-regional level, particularly when it involves no less person than the leader of the minority caucus. In any case, if you look at tradition again and then the arguments that are being made, I think for the purposes of our democracy, for the purposes of the current shift, today I've been talking about what the supermajority means for our democracy and all the risks attendant to it if there is no watchful eye.
and we need the minority leader here. So if you look at it from that point, and then to save us the embarrassment, because the speaker has made a pronouncement already, and we heard Honorable Muntaka, the minority leader doesn't want to find himself in that kind of situation.
Please stay with me. That there is Dr. Rashid Rahman, who stay with me, because he just mentioned there there's a historic moment in Parliament that I want to attend to now in a bold declaration of intent. The Majority Leader, Mahama Yariga, today vowed to use the NDC's commanding two-thirds majority in Parliament as a force for propelling Ghana's democracy forward, pledging unwavering fidelity to the trust bestowed by the Ghanaian voter. Today's swearing in of Ablekuma North MP Rabana Orban turned into a charged spectacle as the NDC solidified its supermajority, met with a defiant walkout by the MPP minority in a bid to disrupt the historic moment. We'll hear from the Majority Leader shortly, but first, let's recap what actually happened with the swearing in of the new MP. The minority attempted to arrest the occasion. Here's what happened.
We in the minority want to make a comment, a quick comment, before the member-elect is sworn in. And I seek your indulgence to do this quickly before, with the greatest of respect, before the member-elect is sworn in, if you may. Are there legal objections that he intends to raise? What is that? And I don't think that we even want to hear what it is now. We are happy to hear it after the process is consummated. After the process is consummated. So I urge the Chief Whip on the Minority Whip to hold his fire. If he could not arrest anything at the Electoral Commission and could not arrest it at the police station, it is not here this morning that he's going to be able to arrest anything. So I beg you, Mr. Chief Whip, Whip of the minority side, please hold your fire. Let the Speaker swear in the young lady. I know you didn't take her phone number. You can get it afterwards. And then we can have the opportunity to make our normal ceremonial speeches and comments. So I beg you, let's not drag this matter. Let's have the swearing in, and then we can move to comments that both sides of the House may make. Speaker, I will forever respect you. And the leader also knows that Order 5 is not in ambiguity. It's clear. And those powers of the Speaker cannot be challenged by the Majority Leader. Speaker, I seek your leave to make a plenary comment, and then I think we can go ahead and do the swearing in. Speaker, I'm at your discretion, and I seek your blessing as the father of this House to give me the opportunity to make a short comment.
Well, as it turned out, the minority side were left very unhappy. They decided to walk out when the Speaker ruled them out.
Speaker, I'm very sorry, and I say this with a lot of difficulty, that if that is the turn of event, then we in the minority, for the records, cannot be part of the swearing in. Yes, we cannot be part of the swearing in. That's what we are working on. And this one is specific to the swearing in. Other businesses will engage in it.
Well, so with that, they walked out of the Chamber of Parliament, but the swearing in went ahead nonetheless.
So you swear the oath of a member of Parliament first, and you start with your surname and then the other names. So you say after me, I,
Obin Arabina,
having been elected a member of Parliament,
So yes, she's been sworn in now, and Kweku Asante is still with me on the line. Kweku, so we had the Majority Leader earlier on the back of the swearing in when it now became settled that they have two-thirds majority. The first time we're seeing this play out in Parliament in this form, declare that they will not abuse the enormous powers that they now have in the House. What really prompted that?
Well, it would appear the majority leader himself know that in the last 6 or 7 parliaments, there has been no side that has gotten 2/3 of parliament, and the weight of it around his shoulders as a leader of the majority, and the concerns that have been mounted in the public. In fact, some even suggesting that the NDC may be willing to use that 2/3 majority to amend the constitution to allow John Dramani Mahama to run a 3rd term. He's insisted, and in fact, he re-echoed the sentiments of President Mahama that they have no intention of abusing this majority, and that instead they are going to use it to pass progressive legislation.
The National Democratic Congress now, for the first time in a very long time, has 2/3 of this House. Mr. Speaker, with this number, we can do many good things for this country. With this number, we can carry out significant constitutional reforms to make this country better. Ghanaians today have given us all the numbers that we need to reset Ghana. And indeed, Mr. Speaker, I want to assure Ghanaians that what President John Dramani Mahama said when he was being sworn in still stands, that the National Democratic Congress will not abuse the majority given to it by Ghanaians. We will use it wisely, we will use it properly, and we will make sure that these numbers inure to the benefit of Ghanaians.
I still have with me the Executive Director of the Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman. Dr. Rashid Rahman, you just listened to the majority leader. Are you assured by what he says? Do you believe the words you're hearing?
Well, Evans, I think the coming days, months, and years would tell us whether we should believe what we are hearing or not. But I mean, I did a write-up recently on this when I was talking to Kweku Asante, your colleague, and his colleagues in the Parliamentary Press Corps. You know what this shift means for our democracy. Globally, whenever you have supermajorities, if these supermajorities are not checked, there is a kind of huge potential that it could easily be abused. We've heard from the president, we've heard from the speaker today. I just hope that, all of them mean what they say, and that we don't see maybe what we have seen in many democracies in which one party has, this kind of majority. The potential risks among many, Evans, include, like what your colleague was saying. People are saying there's a possibility that these numbers could be used to amend the constitution to give the current president another term. We have heard that over and over in the social media, whether that is true. And that is tied to that potential of constitutional overreach that is possible in a supermajority. We could also see just lack of scrutiny and lack of oversight, basically rubber stamping anything that comes, from the party, from the executive, and so on. We could also see a situation where, voices are stifled, particularly minority voices and so on. And that is all possible, and that potential exists unless this kind of supermajority is checked.
And talking about checking it, I want to bring in constitutional lawyer Justice Abdullahi. Justice Abdullahi, what are the constitutional safeguards to check this power?
Thank you so much, Evans. So my deepest greetings to my elder brother. It's been a while that we encountered each other. Evans, so he rightly points out the dangers inherent in having the kind of majority that the NDC currently has in Parliament. And it's both good and bad. The good part is that legislation become relatively easier to be passed.
Yeah, because of time, he articulated those.
Yes.
I'm interested in the constitutional safeguards. What are they?
The safeguards, there are quite a number of safeguards. The Constitution itself provides a number of procedures, substantive as we call it sometimes, and sometimes procedural safeguards that prevent these kinds of abuses. So some legislations, for instance, can never be passed without going through other third parties. For instance, if you talk about the amendments to the Constitution to give the president a third term, it can never happen unless the Council of State plays a pivotal role in that. You have to refer that to the Council of State, and of course, it also has to come to the general public for us to also vote on that. So it can never happen that easily as it's put out there, as if simply because there's a supermajority in Parliament, they can easily do these things without the public going for plebiscites where we may all have to vote for or against that decision. So it is not a straightforward thing. It is good, but there are lots of safeguards provided in the Constitution to prevent such abuses.
And Rashid Rahman, very quickly on this. I know you've written extensively on this. You pointed to that, but we have it now. And it's quite interesting that in the last 4 years, we've had the two extreme ends of the spectrum. We had a hung parliament, which was one extreme. Now we have a one-sided parliament. We saw what the hung parliament did. And I know I had many conversations with you where you were actually disappointed that we did not get the dividends that we were expecting from the hung parliament. Of course, now that you have a one-sided parliament, again, the people, having experienced the lack of dividends from the hung parliament, thought maybe we should just hand the entire power to one side. Definitely, the people of Ghana expect different now.
Mm-hmm. Yes, indeed. Evans, the people of Ghana, don't expect anything less. The justice has, it cuts both ways. It can be a very, very important force for good. And I just hope that as the NDC exercises this unprecedented mandate handed over to them, they always side with the people, as we heard today when the honorable member gave her oath, siding with Ghana, siding with the Constitution. And I hope that, that would be the side on which they will all time when they use the numbers that they have in the House.
I'm grateful. That is Executive Director of Africa Center for Parliamentary Affairs, Dr. Rashid Rahman, constitutional lawyer, Justice Abdullahi. I want to hear your thoughts on this. You voted for this particular parliamentary balance. What are your own expectations? You've heard from the majority leader. Do you trust that they will keep their word? Send me a WhatsApp, 05511 11997. Right after business, as former President Akufo-Addo withdrawn his support for his vice president and aspiring MPP flag bearer, Dr. Bawumia. We hear from former majority leader and leading figure in the Bawumia camp, who says Dr. Bawumia does not need the former president's support to win.
Well, they said, they have heard through some third parties that Akufo-Addo has said that he's not going to support him. Fair and fine. We'll take it like that. The man is his own man. Akufo-Addo is no longer the president anyway. Bawumia can walk through fire and win.
With or without his?
With or without.
And later in the news, we bring you the confession of an illegal miner's rather hilarious reaction after he was arrested by the police.
I am aware
that I have been caught with a number of police officers surrounding me. This isn't good.
Jojo Face here with the very latest, and that translation that didn't do justice to what the man actually says. He in essence says that he has soiled himself because the police had arrested him.
Interesting. But also interesting development events in our parliamentary democracy and also in our judiciary as well, following developments in parliament event. Well, coming up in business, Bank of Ghana moves to streamline foreign exchange pricing and services at the country's ports with new set of guidelines as the regulator hands of sanctions for non-compliance. A mid-year budget review likely to focus on macroeconomic target assessment, as there are strong indication there wouldn't be a supplementary estimate presented by the finance minister. The business news on Newsnight is brought to you by MTN Business. Welcome to the new world of business. Kingdom Books and Stationery, your number one stop shop for all your office essentials. Since Tanks and Pepsodent Herbal and Charcoal.
it has made life happen in lots of good ways.
Mr. Kwanzaa, Mensah insurance claim no.
It has put together beautiful weddings. It has filled the bellies of boys at their favorite watchy joint.
My guy, stop. Who they chop cancel these days?
It has made millions of businesses possible.
Mensah can no. We are back in business.
With just a few taps, money moves faster, easier, and safer. Momo understands the weight of your trust in us. We continuously enhance security with features like self-paying reset to help you protect your money. Momo will only call you with 0244 300,000. No MTN or Momo staff will call or ask for your PIN or one-time password. Do not transfer funds to anyone whose identity you have not verified. Do not approve any prompts you have not initiated. Momo, still Munsaka.
Ama, big news! Star Oil is now the largest oil marketing company in Ghana.
Wow, that's huge!
Yes, so the largest distributor of petroleum products in Ghana. Ever since I switched to Star Oil, my car runs smoother. The fuel lasts longer, no strange engine sound, just clean, powerful performance.
Oh, same here. I used to refill every 3 days until I switched to Star Oil. Now, my fuel lasts way longer. I don't know what magic is inside, but my car loves it.
Exactly. It's not magical. From Accra to Kumasi to Tamale, Star Oil day everywhere with 240 filling stations and counting. That's why more Ghanaians are choosing Star Oil.
Hey, my tank is almost empty. I am heading to Star Oil right now before the queue starts.
I'm right behind you, Amma.
We set out with a mission to serve better and lead boldly. We're proud to say we are Ghana's #1 oil marketing company. To our loyal Star savers across the country, thank you for believing in us. Star Oil, quality and affordable fuels for all.
Son, we are so proud of you for setting up this hospital. I really love those hospital beds and waiting chairs. By the way, did you import them?
No, Dad, I didn't. I actually got them from Kingdom Books and Stationery right here in Ghana.
Wow. We also bought our office supplies, safes, executive desks and chairs from Kingdom, and they gave us expert advice on how to set up our office.
Guys, that makes 3 of us. I also got our sofa and bedroom sets, plus our dining hall furniture for our new home from Kingdom.
Wow, Mom, that makes 4 of us. I usually get my stationery items from Kingdom, and my teacher also mentioned that our classroom furniture was provided by Kingdom.
So there you have it. Whenever you're thinking about setting up an office or acquiring furniture for your home, etc., Kingdom Books and Stationery should be your first port of call. With over 40 years experience in the industry, we stock and supply a wide variety of globally sourced office and home furniture, stationery and equipment. Visit our head office, Takweje, Osu near the Osu Cemetery, Tema near Community 4, Takoradi opposite Vijay Mays Plaza, Cape Coast University Bookshop, Spintex Road near Absa Bank, Atomic Centerpoint Mall, Winneba University Campus, KNUST, the University Bookshop, and Santasi in Kumasi. You can also visit our shop online, www.kingdomstoreonline.com. Hurry while stock lasts. For further inquiries, contact us on 050-162-0810 or 0302-764-101. Email info@kingdomgh.com. Kingdom Books and Stationery Limited, where quality and affordability is assured. Terms and conditions apply.
Cavity protection.
This advert is FDA approved.
Every mosquito study run away. Sasso, mi se come tonton preko. Sasso, kum tonton preko. Nani sham ne die, e demo strong ko.
This advert is FDA approved.
Every day from 1st to 31st of July, Betway is giving you the chance to strike it lucky and win a share of 9 million Ghana cedis in prizes in Scratch and Win. Place any bet on sports or casino and earn your daily scratch card for a chance at cash, spins, free flights, and more. Exclusively at Betway. Get way more at betway.com.gh today. Terms and conditions apply. Regulated by the Gaming Commission of Ghana. Bet the responsible way. Betway. Get way more.
Welcome back to Business on Newsnight. Now, Bank of Ghana is stepping up efforts to streamline foreign exchange pricing and services at the country's ports. It has therefore announced new set of guidelines for all players in the shipping industry. There is more in this report.
These new guidelines follows some rigorous engagement with players in the industry on how to ensure an effective regulation aimed at ensuring transparency and alignment with regulatory frameworks in foreign exchange pricing for services offered at the country's port. The Bank of Ghana in the statement advised all players to also publish daily exchange rates used for invoicing on their website. This must also be done at their premises and thus must be available and communicated clearly to customers prior to issuance of invoice or payment. The published rate must be available to customers and communicated clearly to them prior to the issuance of invoices or payment. The central bank also reminded the shipping lines that the exchange rate that they will quote must be market reflective of their commercial bank rate. This should be done in line with the benchmark rate of the Bank of Ghana as published when it comes to the exchange rate and not arbitrarily determined. It also maintained that failure to work with these new guidelines will result in some administrative sanctions. These exchange rates, according to the Bank of Ghana, must be market reflective in terms of commercial bank rate. Thus, the Bank of Ghana says should be in line with the benchmark rate of the bank as published when it comes to the exchange rate and not arbitrarily determined. The Bank of Ghana also announced that all these guidelines are effective today.
And that is the Business Desk report. Meanwhile, the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders has praised the Bank of Ghana for moving quickly to deal with the challenge of the country's ports. Nana Siama Pepra, the first vice president of the institute.
The shipping lines, one of the major operators of the port. There are several shipping lines in Ghana. They all use different exchange rates. Meanwhile, the Bank of Ghana issue exchange rate for the week, which customs and other port operators use for the week. So every week, every Monday, there is a new exchange rate that comes. Sometimes it goes up, sometimes it comes down. Mostly, until recently, it goes up. But to our surprise, the shipping lines don't comply with that. They use their own exchange rate. And that is one of the major issues that we have been raising.
Nana Siama Pepra, the first is the vice president of the Ghana Institute of Freight Forwarders. Now, the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku, has said that the ministry is taking steps to improve logistics across the agricultural value chain as part of efforts to support government Feed Ghana program. Now, speaking at a ceremony to hand over motorbikes to the Agric Extension officers and inaugurate a new board for the PBC Share Limited, Mr. Opoku emphasized government's commitment to improving food production in the country.
We are unable to produce enough food to feed our people. We import a lot of food that costs us over $2 billion annually. Food prices were ballooning. It went as high as 61%. The time we assumed office, it has reduced to 32%. Now, when food prices are rising, it's a clear indication that a lot of people are being pushed into abject poverty. And so the question people ask is that why is it that you have all the potentials that you require to be able to feed yourself and even feed other countries, yet you are unable to do that? So the Ghanaian agricultural landscape is a paradox, indicating that our food systems are weak, and therefore there is the need for us to put in place mechanisms to fortify the systems, to make them more responsive, to be able to deliver to the demands and aspirations of our people.
And that is the Minister for Food and Agriculture, Eric Opoku. Now, the mid-year budget review is likely to focus heavily on taking a second look at the macroeconomic targets set out this year. Now, this is what Joy Business has picked up from persons with knowledge of the presentation by the Finance Minister this Thursday. There is more in this report.
We understand that the Finance Minister's presentation will be a normal review of the estimates presented to Parliament earlier this year and will not be associated with major adjustments. However, we should not rule out the fact that these estimates were set based on developments ending September 2024. With new numbers coming in ending first quarter of this year, the Finance Minister, Dr. Kasiela Tuforsen, will move quickly to make some changes to growth rate, inflation and other fiscal numbers for this year. Sources say this mid-year presentation will not be associated with major policy announcements. There are also strong indications that the Finance Minister will not present a supplementary budget. But the critical question is, how will government finance some flagship projects like the 24-hour economy and the Big Push initiative for the rest of the year?
And that is a Business Desk report. Now, over 358,000 ounces of gold were sold to the Bank of Ghana last year under its domestic gold purchase program by members of the Ghana Chamber of Mines. According to the Chamber, this initiative has significantly contributed to the appreciation of the Ghana cedi against the US dollar. Now, speaking at a press conference in Accra today, Chief Executive of the Chamber, Kenneth Ashigbe, emphasized the commitment of the Chamber to support the stability of the Ghana cedi.
The strength of the cedi currently is based on gold, predominantly based on gold. And it is also because as an industry, we have this agreement where we sold last year, we sold 358,218 ounces of gold to Bank of Ghana under the domestic gold purchase program. And we also continue to support the bank with voluntary forex and gold purchase initiative to boost the bank's reserve position, and that has strengthened our cedi. And so it is important that when we talk about all of this, we make mention of all of that and how that is supporting the industry.
Chief Executive of the Ghana Chamber of Mines, Dr. Kenneth, should be speaking at a news conference to update the public on industry data for last year. And that's all for business on Newsnight. Evans, take over.
And thank you very much, George. And I'll be sharing your thoughts with the rest of the world pretty shortly. 055-11-11997. He has been by his side since 2008. Last year, after 16 years, he finally became his own man, standing as a presidential candidate for the New Patriotic Party after serving his former boss, Akufo-Addo, for nearly 2 decades. But in the last few weeks, it has been speculated within the ranks of the MPP that former Vice President Dr. Mahmoud Bawumia has lost the support of his former boss. In fact, it had been suggested Akufo-Addo had vowed he will not back him in his bid to win the party's flag bearer contest for a chance to be its presidential candidate for a second time for the 2028 election. So what really are the facts? I put that to leading figure in the Bawumia camp and former Majority Leader, Osei Mensah.
Everything considered. He, at the time, was the president. He was his vice president, and they had worked closely together. So maybe if between he and him, he supported him, that one I cannot tell. But to the best of my knowledge, in the lead up to the primaries, whatever we're able to mobilize, we did it on our own. Yeah. But for you, maybe he on my blind side, and I will not pretend to be closer to Akufo-Addo than his own vice president.
But let me ask you about now.
Yes.
In fact, it was Ata Kennedy who said on my show once, very recently, that he can see on authority that Akufo-Addo has expressly, even if he had any support for him, said he's never going to support Bawumia going forward. Is that true?
But the person who told you is the person that you have asked.
Well, I'm asking because you're close to him.
From what I know, in the party, I would say that Akufo-Addo has not made that open declaration anywhere.
Has his action shown that he doesn't?
Well, I've heard that people have said that he has said somewhere that he's not going to support him. But if you ask me whether I have evidence to that effect, I'll not be able to produce that.
So this is conversation with the part that you've also heard, that he said it somewhere?
Well, I've heard from some birds who have whispered in my ears.
That he said somewhere?
That he said somewhere And those of them, I wouldn't even say secondary or third-party sources, perhaps fourth-party sources. That is difficult to really...
And those of them, you were making a point, how did you hear what he said exactly?
Well, they said, they have heard through some third parties that Akufo-Addo has said that he's not going to support him. Fair and fine. I have not heard. But we'll take it like that. The man is his own man. He has decided to contest. And in 2008, rumors were rife that Akufo, the then president, had committed to supporting Alan Kyerematen. Akufo-Addo, a cabinet minister, exited. He was on his own. And yet, even when Akufo was the president, and as we're told, supported the bid of Kyerematen, with his position as president, Alan didn't win. Akufo-Addo won it. Akufo-Addo is no longer the president anyway. So if it is true, I don't want to believe that it is true. But if it is true, like he walked through fire and won, Bawumia can also walk through fire and win.
With or without his...
With or without. But I don't want to believe that it is true.
I want to bring in Dr. Sasante, Senior Political Science Lecturer with the University of Ghana. Dr. Sasante, thanks for your time here on Newsnight. Is Chairman Sabung's right to assert that Dr. Bawumia can win the contest without the support of Akufo-Addo?
Absolutely right. Because nobody is indispensable in politics. And more so when we are mere mortals. Imagine, God forbid, Akufo-Addo is not alive. Are you saying that Bawumia cannot be his own man and then fight for himself? What is even more is that President Akufo-Addo supported him in the last election. You and I are alive to that, and yet he lost. So all that it means is that Bawumia will be able to organize himself very well by way of what? Having resources, strategy, and message that will resonate with the people.
But certainly,
he
will be deprived of some resources because those around Akufo-Addo who were very loyal to him, who are still very loyal to him, it has been said that those who are really still have the resources as far as the MPP is concerned, definitely Dr. Bawumia will need that. They will need their support.
Bawumia can also generate his own resources from other places. He doesn't need to necessarily get support from one source. No. He's a very distinguished man. He will be able to identify where he can find resources and tap into that.
Grateful that you join us with your thoughts on this. That's Dr. Sasante, a senior political science lecturer with the University of Ghana. Now, tonight, Parliament has given the government another boost in its fulfillment of its 2024 campaign promises after passing the Ghana Medical Trust Fund bill, also known as the Mahama Cares. Before that, though, the minority and majority MPs split hairs over the legislation, which was presented to Parliament for its first reading just 24 hours ago. The government successfully got Parliament to consider the bill, which seeks to provide financial assistance to individuals living with chronic diseases across the country, despite strong opposition by the minority. Former Lands Minister Samuel Abu-Junapo says the Mahama Cares is a duplication of efforts.
We are also aware, and this House has had multiple occasions to observe what I'm about to say and to debate this matter, the duplication of institutions. The Speaker, indeed, reputable organizations such as the United Nations, UNDP, WHO, IMF, have all decried the concept of governments, particularly from third world, Mr. Speaker, spending huge sums of monies, administrative funds on duplication of institutions. Mr. Speaker, I need not point out that when President Barack Obama came to our country, he reminded all of us that we should build institutions. Mr. Speaker, we heard from our friends. They are talking about non-communicable diseases. Mr. Speaker, the question which we have to pose, and I see that the Honorable Minister for Health is here. Mr. Speaker, why can we not review the National Health Insurance Scheme, the National Health Authority, to deal with this non-communicable disease? Mr. Speaker, is Ghana not tired of government after government, change of government, duplicating institutions, birthing new institutions, burdening our national exchequer on administrative funding, and so on and so forth. So is Ghana not tired of that?
But Health Minister Kwabena Kando had a sharp rebuttal.
Ghana Medical Trust Fund is going to compete with the National Health Insurance Scheme. Mr. Speaker, it is clear, and it was clear at the committee level, that this particular fund is dedicated towards the treatment of NCDs that are not captured by the National Health Insurance Authority. What is the competition? There is absolutely no competition. Mr. Speaker, we all know, and everybody here is one way or the other related to somebody battling with this type of chronic diseases. Mr. Speaker, I've heard members say the mortality rate attributable to NCDs is 40% or 43%. Mr. Speaker, the danger, and more alarmingly, if you take mortality rate with respect to children out of the statistics, we are hitting more than 65%.
And that there is the Health Minister, Kwabena Kando. Now, a suspected illegal miner offered comic relief during a tense police swoop when John Usis Nanabuache Yadom asked if he knew he was under arrest. Now, surrounded by armed officers, the visibly shaking man's reply is what has got people talking, laughing, and it's gone viral.
I honestly thought it was just a regular farmland, not a forest. Oh. I know I have been arrested. I said police for but when I saw the police approaching, I panicked so much, I shot myself.
Well, the man who was doing that interview joins me on the line. Then I'm watching. You are a very dangerous interviewer. You know that. You. In fact, it was your questioning that got the man to soil himself. What really prompted that? What happened there?
All right. So Evans, this man was at the Petit Kroma mining enclave in Carrier Forest District, and unfortunately for him, while his other colleagues were able to escape during the police swoop, he was unfortunately arrested by the police. Now, what led to his arrest is much funnier, because when he tried to escape, he went into a farmland where they had planted cocoa and then other plantations. So he was unable to run so fast that he had to hide himself under some trees, to the extent that the police were searching all over, but they couldn't find him. But unfortunately for him, he was unable to cover his head with the leaves over the place. So the police were able to grab him. Now, he pulled on himself immediately. One police officer.
Oh, so he wasn't kidding when he said he had pulled on himself. He actually did.
No, he actually did. He actually did, Evans. He actually did.
And you saw the pool?
Yes, I did. I did see myself. In fact, that pool, for the interview, it was the first pool. After the interview, he went to complete the pool itself.
And Adam, thank you very much. That day is News Night. And Mr. Cranton, please approach the microphone. You have sports, but what's causing the delirium, the laughter? What's the problem?
Your line of question, very interesting, but brilliant.
My line of questioning.
Yeah.
I didn't ask the questions on the ground. It was the man who just joined Anabuachi Yadom who caused the mess.
No, but then you asked him if he saw the pool, which is very important.
You know the knockout. He says the first pool was
before the interview, and then after the interview, he went to complete the pool. Goodness me!
Oh my goodness! You should check out social media handles. You'll find that video there. It's been trending since last 24 hours. But listen, you have commentary for us. What's coming up?
Yeah, the Black Queens of Ghana are in action against Morocco in the WAFCON semi-final. Nigeria beat South Africa in the first semi-final, so the winner of this game, Ghana and Morocco, will face Nigeria in the final. But it's a big one. WAFCON semi-final, live commentary on Joy 99.7 FM is Ghana against Morocco.